Hi everybody, welcome to part 3 of my story. In this part, I'm going to discuss me returning on my mission after my attempt at serving a full-time mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where I ended up being there for only a couple of weeks before the anxiety would get too bad and I would end up coming home. I finally decided that it was time to try again, and like I had stated in the last video, things kind of went back to normal for me, and I just kind of slid back into that sense of normalcy, and my anxiety was gone. And both my counselor and I, we decided it was time to, give it a go. Maybe things are good this time. I get sent to a mission that's close to where I'm from. And this was because if something went wrong, I would be able to quickly return home, and I wouldn't be in another country or, another part of the country, and it would be easier for me to get back quickly if something went wrong. My family, they come and they drop me off where the mission is. And for those that don't know, full-time missionaries for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they get to call home twice a year and get to write letters weekly. So little to no communication with my family, with my friends. It was a really scary prospect. And the way missions are set up is that every 6 weeks they call it a transfer. And a transfer, at the end of that 6-week period with the transfer, you could either move to a new area, so you'd move to a new apartment with different people and different, lessons that you're teaching to different people, or you could end up with a new companion, so you're assigned to live with somebody for, the duration of that 6 weeks period. And you're supposed to work together and teach together. That was a really scary thing for me because I never knew who I was going to be with. I didn't know if we were going to get along. I didn't know if we were going to be able to work together. I didn't know if, it would promote anxiety or relieve it. But that was always the biggest fear for me. And also just moving to a whole new different place or at least there's a chance every 6 weeks of moving somewhere entirely different with different people and living with a different person, and that was incredibly stressful for me. And so I got to the mission field, and these things are kind of in the back of my mind, and as soon as my family leaves and I know that just like that communication is cut off, I started to get anxious really fast. I mean, I thought I was going to be okay, but that's just because I was in that sense of normalcy. I'm here at the mission home, which is where the mission president lives, and I'm with all these other missionaries who are brand new, first day in that place, same as me. I'm already really anxious, and I remember even telling my mission president I think I told him that first night that I was ready to go home. I was already anxious. He says, we'll give it some time, sleep tonight, get some rest, see how you feel in the morning. And he was a very good man and was a very calming influence on me. And I thought, okay, well, not much is going to change. Might as well just give this another day, And so I did. And the next day I felt a little bit better. I thought, hey, I could give this another few days or something, because as I settled into the situation, the anxiety subsided a little bit. But then I got to my first area. I was assigned to my first companion. I was assigned to different congregations of the members of the church, none of which I didn't know anybody. I was pretty anxious. I had no idea how these things would work. I remember I ate my companion's food on that first day because I didn't know I was supposed to have my own or what. But I remember feeling very alone, very secluded, and my anxiety was very triggered. I remember about 3 weeks in, I made it about 3 weeks before it was just full blown. I can't do this anymore. I wasn't sleeping at night on my mission. I was so tired. I couldn't get anything done. I felt like I was useless to my companion. I would hardly speak in our lessons. And I'm sure that was a burden for him because he was carrying the whole load. But I had a phone conversation with my mission president, and I said, President, it was about 3 weeks in. I was like, I just can't keep going like this. I'm useless, I'm anxious, I'm not sleeping. And at that point, I ended up starting to see a psychiatrist in the mission field. And like I had said before, medications had kind of been ruled out for me. Like I thought it wasn't an option. But I go and I see this new guy. He prescribed some meds that I tried. I tried Wellbutrin first. And within a few days, I was having some serious issues. I was having some major headaches, some joint pain, itching, kind of like I was having an allergic reaction all over my body. So that didn't go well. But at least I wasn't suicidal like medications had made me in the past. So we continued to try a couple more. I tried Buspirone, which just didn't do anything for me. And at this point, I had actually been in the mission field for a couple of months. I had already been through one transfer. I had moved from one missionary to another, so I had a new area and a new companion. And I seemed to kind of be making it. And I was just taking it a day at a time, and I was just so tired and stressed though. But I was making it. You know, when things got really hard after those first few weeks, I remember listening to some music. It was some music that my brother gave me and sent with me, just some instrumental stuff. They have some pretty strict rules about what you are allowed to listen to when you're on a mission. The music was the background to a scene from Lord of the Rings, and it was a scene I knew well, it being one of my favorite movies. And the quote from that scene goes something like this. Frodo says to Sam, and if you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, you really gotta go watch it now. But Frodo says, I can't do this, Sam. Sam says, I know. It's all wrong. By rights, we shouldn't even be here, but we are. It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were, and sometimes you didn't want to know the end, because how could the end of the story be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing. This shadow, even darkness must pass. A new day will come, and when the sun shines, it will shine out the clear. Those are the stories that stayed with you, that meant something, even if you were too small to understand why. But I think, Mr. Frodo, I do understand. I know now. Folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't. They kept going, because they were holding on to something. Frodo says to Sam, what are we holding on to? Sam says there's some good in this world, and it's worth fighting for. And I knew after going over that scene in my head that I was in a good place doing a good thing that was good for me. It was good for the people that I would help and serve. And it was something that was worth fighting for to me. And not only to continue to serve my mission, but to live the life that I wanted. I had some goals for my life. I wanted to get married, have a family, have a strong career in the medical field. And these are things I all wanted and that I knew were good. And I thought, I gotta keep fighting this. I gotta keep going. I gotta keep climbing that mountain. And I continued on. In the second area that I was in, I was put with a companion that was a little bit more challenging for me. And we didn't exactly get along because, at least at the time, I wasn't entirely sure that he even wanted to be there. And so I felt like I felt kind of adrift. I'm like, well, what am I doing here? And I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted to serve a mission and to teach my faith and what I believed in. But this was kind of a challenging time. And I had to push through, and I learned to kind of be okay with this sort of survival mode that I was in. I was okay with kind of doing what to me felt like the bare minimum. And I was okay with that because that's all I could do, all I could muster through the tiredness, the depression, the not sleeping well, the anxiety. So I had served in this mission that was close to home. And after those first 2 transfers, so it had been about 3 months, I had the option of continuing forward and going to my original assigned mission, which was in Oklahoma City, where I could return home. At the time, I was pretty sure I wanted to go home, actually. But after talking about it with my mission president, he convinced me again to, well, just go give it a try, see how you do. He knew I wanted to be there, he just knew I was struggling. And I thought, okay. And I was crazy anxious to be sent far from home this time, and I'd be kind of put back in another situation where I didn't know anybody in the mission. I didn't know my mission president. I didn't know any of this stuff, and I was so nervous about it. But he convinced me to go ahead and try. And, I thought, well, I gotta do my best here. I gotta do everything I can. And so I went out to Oklahoma, got assigned to a little town called Tuttle that was outside of Oklahoma City. Very different place from where I grew up. Same country, but different lifestyle, I would say. It was an adjustment for me. And again, it was difficult adjusting to a new place with new people and new things. But somehow I got through it. And I found a lot of strength that was well beyond my own. And well beyond my years, I would say, to continue moving forward, to keep trying with this mission. Which reminds me of one of my favorite songs. And I know I share a lot of music in these episodes, but that's because it's something that's close to my heart and close to how I can express my feelings. And it goes something like this. There's a host of hurts we come across, none of which alike. From the air inside the birthing room to the darkness where we die. Though I feel I'm just as strong as any man I know, I'm not able on my own. And I knew God was helping me. And He was pushing me along and helping me do something that was so good for my life. As I learned to overcome the anxiety of these situations and press forward and endure the awful depression and anxiety symptoms I was feeling every day. I just remember how much I loved God for helping me with that and helping me overcome, and if I was willing, He was willing to help me. And I continued to do better and better on my mission as I got used to things and the situation I was in. And it took a long time. But about 14 months in, I received a letter from someone from home, and it was, a girl that I had feelings for. And it triggered this kind of original anxiety that keeps coming up with me of, that initial relationship that caused me so much trouble. And what ended up happening is it sent me into full-blown panic again. And I thought, well, I'm not going to be able to do this. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to have a relationship. And the thoughts just went on. And the thoughts turned to, well, I'm going to end up living my life alone because I can't do this. Because I can't handle the anxiety surrounding the relationships. And it got so bad, and it affected my missionary work, and I was so wrapped up in my mind again. The anxiety became so bad over this whole situation that I actually ended up being suicidal. I ended up having fleeting thoughts of ending my life or of hurting myself. Things that would just flash in and out of my mind. And this time it definitely wasn't caused by a medication. I really was struggling. I was struggling to keep up with my missionary work. I was struggling even to follow a conversation again at that point because the anxiety was so bad. I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to handle these relationships in my life, that I was going to be alone forever because I couldn't beat this anxiety. And I ended up going home at that point. Things were just so bad, and I crashed so quickly, and became very scared because of how these thoughts I was having. It was almost like my brain had kind of hit the self-destruct mode. There was so much stress and worry that it was like my brain was saying, hey, I can't handle this. And these thoughts would come in so quickly. And some days it was everything I could do to push them out. I ended up going home. They sent me on a flight. It was probably within a week of this letter I had received. Things fell apart that quickly. I got home. It was so great to see my family and some of my friends. And things were okay for a couple of weeks. I felt like there was a lot of celebration and kind of like this happiness, and even though it was such a struggle, I felt like I succeeded at my mission, being there as long as I did. But then the depression hit again within a few weeks. This time I was very alone, very worried, extremely depressed, still fighting these suicidal ideation that I was having. And this was a really difficult time for me. So in the next episode, I'll talk about my return home for the second time and the major depression that hit at this point and lasted for a year and a half. I ended up going back and trying medications. I tried many medications, most of them with little success, and a lot of them with some severe side effects that just made me absolutely miserable as I struggled to find some sort of relief, something to help me overcome this. And I'll talk about that in part 4. Thanks for watching. I hope you found some sort of companionship or some sort of... I hope you feel like you're not alone, that there's somebody who has gone through similar things to you, and this is for all of you who have had anxiety, depression, something similar. No, you're not alone. Go ahead and give a listen to part 4, and hopefully there's more that you can find there to help you feel better, and things that you can see that I did that helped me get through.